This is the homily for the second Sunday of Easter, which is April 19th, 2020. The readings for this second Sunday of Easter are the Acts of the Apostles, chapter 2, verses 42 to 47. The second reading is from the first letter of St. Peter, chapter 1, verses 3 to 9. And the Gospel is from St. John, chapter 20, verses 19 to 31. A bishop in one of the dioceses in the state of Michigan was making parish visitations. At each parish, he asked a group of assembled parishioners, "Of all that the Catholic Church teaches, what do you find the hardest to believe?" The answer that the bishop got back most often was that it was hard to really believe that there is life after this life. I find this interesting for two reasons. First, we as Christians are, in a sense, betting our whole life on the fact that there is life after this life. Second, we are not unlike the Apostle Thomas in today's gospel. We do have doubts at times. Having doubts is not necessarily a bad thing. Doubting is not denying. Rather, doubting is questioning. Questioning can lead us to a deeper faith. In fact, the story of doubting Thomas was told to members of the early church who were struggling with belief. Jesus had already ascended into heaven. Their belief, like ours, is based on the testimony of eyewitnesses to the resurrection. It is interesting to note that the other apostles believed because they had seen the resurrected Jesus. Had they, like Thomas, not been present when Jesus appeared, Thomas might have had company. The fact that we do depend on some signs for proofs that Jesus rose from the dead, but in the end, faith is a leap. Faith is a risk. Jesus is asking us to accept something that we cannot prove scientifically. Jesus is asking us to believe what he said, based on what has been passed on to us by others for the last 2,000 years. Beginning with Easter Sunday and continuing throughout the 50 days of the Easter season, our first scripture reading is proclaimed from the Acts of the Apostles. This book, which is a continuation of the Gospel of St. Luke, relates the beginnings of the church after Jesus' ascension. Today's passage gives us an idealized picture of the early church. In other words, based on their belief in the risen Lord, this is how the early church knew they should be. However, they did not always live up to this ideal perfectly. Their goal was to be devoted to the teaching of the apostles, forming a true community of believers who really care for one another, celebrating the breaking of bread, the Eucharist, and making prayer central to their lives. 2,000 years later, as we gather here today, our goals are the same. We give special emphasis to the sacrament of baptism during the Easter season. Baptism is our entrance, our initiation into this believing community. St. Peter is addressing the newly baptized in our second reading today. Those who are baptized are given a new birth and a living hope because Jesus rose from the dead. That living hope allows us to take the risk of believing that life for us will go on forever. Because of this, even though Christianity involves suffering, we can rejoice. Without seeing Jesus, we can love him and believe in him. Our doubts challenge us to a deeper faith, a deeper love. Blessed are those who have not seen and have believed. My sisters and brothers, Jesus is talking